Hello and welcome to Creator Chat, a series where I interview different creators, allowing them to share their favorite games and to put a spotlight on whatever projects they are working on. This is the second interview for this series, and today we'll be chatting with the creator of Octa HIDEOUT, known as BRIK. For the audience, who are you and what do you do?
I'm BRIK, or just BRIK. I develop a game called Octa on Roblox, and it's a class-based fighter. Some would say it's similar. It's kind of similar to Critical Strike, I guess. That's one of my inspirations, I guess. And yeah, that's who I am.
By the way, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I just wanted to let you know at the start here that I lost. I looked at the chicken and I lost. For context, the one on the group wall, there was a post that said, "Don't look at the chicken."
Oh, what's it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of our friends, like a little silly joke.
Is it only you developing the game, or is there a team developing it?
So when I first started out, I was working with a friend, and he taught me like so much about studios, like replication and stuff like that. The game used to be like a buggy mess back then. And then he came along and we used to be like a little duo, but we kind of fell out recently. It was like semi-recently, like a year or two ago. So it's just been me working on the game with the recode. So yeah.
So it's just you for the entire thing now?
Yeah, so it's mostly me. I've got a couple friends like here and there that'll come in and be like, yeah, let me animate something for you, or I'll help you with a little model here and then. But mostly it's all the artwork is myself. Most animations are me. The music, me again, and yeah, and the VFX and stuff like that, yeah.
What would you say is the hardest part about developing a game?
Hardest part? I think concepting something is very easy, but when it comes to are you bothered to commit to it, I think committing to something is harder than concepting something, because I can make like 1,000 concepts in my mind. I've got like a whole channel in my server that's like got like a bunch of concepts, but when it comes to am I really bothered to do this? Or I'll set my mind on something and I'll be like, I'll get to coding it and I'll be like, oh, this doesn't look this doesn't look that good, so I'm not gonna bother with it no more. And I think committing to something is one of the hardest things, in my opinion, because I've got like when I'm working on something, I'll kind of just, my mind's very, I guess, skittish. I'll kind of bounce from topic to topic to topic, and I struggle to stay focused on one thing. I think that's just more a me thing, but yeah, definitely committing to something.
Well, on the topic of concepts, was Octa your original goal in mind when starting out, or was this one of the many ideas you had?
So I've been working on basically the same project for like, 4 years, mostly because I was starting to learn to script initially. I was like, you know what, let me just make a silly little game. So the game started off as like, you'd fling high velocity cubes at people and launch people off the map. And we found that funny, so I was like, you know what, let me start to develop like an actual fighting game. And it kind of like slowly started to trickle in, and now I'm here. And yeah, that's basically it.
A little bit of a derail, but still on the topic of games. Out of curiosity, what are your favorite games on Roblox, or favorite genres?
On Roblox, favorite games, definitely got to be Critical Strike and PSA. Those games are like, I used to play those games religiously. And those are definitely one of my biggest inspirations. As of late, I used to be really big into fighting. That game's art style is like phenomenal, and the UI for it is just wow. Like you look at it and it's just so in your face, and it's so nice to look at. I think in genre types, I'm definitely gravitated to hero shooters more as of late. I've been like really into Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. Those games I just like the different concepts and different stories and how they take the character's identity and make a kit out of that, and I find that really interesting in my opinion. And honestly, I think Smash Bros, that game, wow, Smash Bros, I love that game, man.
Very, very fun game. I grew up with Melee.
Nice.
Do you have any least favorite games or genres?
Least favorite games, I think on Roblox it's gotta be like, I think it's more just those games where you're not really doing anything, where you kind of just like sit around and stuff kind of happens. Like I like playing tower defenses. Tower defense games are really fun, but I feel when you're just not doing anything and you're just watching paint dry, essentially, it's just kind of boring. So I try to avoid playing games where like you're not really being interactive with the game, if that makes sense.
It does. So like idlers or simulators?
Yeah, Yeah, I just they just don't click for me. I understand how they can click for other people, but for me personally, I like to be involved with a game. I want to be constantly doing something, and those games just kind of just don't really get that for me.
All right, going back to Octa. To anyone who might be curious about the game, why are there two versions?
So Octa Basement is the old version of the game before the code rewrite. With the new version, Octa Hideout is basically the reworked version of the game where classes are being redesigned and reworked entirely, and stuff's been changed entirely. There's new maps, there's new UI updates, bugs are being changed and fixed. And it's mostly just an improvement of the game, but I wanted to change the game's ownership to a group. That's like the main thing why we've moved games, is because I wanted to have the game under a group because it's easy to manage that way.
Okay, you mentioned moving the game, but why is it somewhat locked or hidden? I guess a follow-up is most developers will usually try to promote their game to some extent, but Octa definitely seems like it's more closed.
Yeah, so I've kind of had like the mindset where I want to like deliver a somewhat finished product when I want to like release the game to the public, I guess. And I feel like if the game's like sort of closed off, or you just find it, you stumble upon it, and like, this game's cool, I mess with this, let me, you know, indulge the community a bit, that's fine with me. But I don't want to have like a swarm of people suddenly, because I feel like I'm just gonna get overwhelmed very quickly and I'll burn out. So I think having it, it's kind of like backwards now that I think about it, backwards thinking. But in my mind, it's more like I don't want a surge of people just like pinging me 24/7. This is broken, this is broken, this is broken. Can you fix this? Can you update the game? And I get so much pressure, and I kind of just like shut down. So yeah, I guess I don't know exactly why it's hidden, but there's like a bunch of reasons. I guess that's one of the main reasons.
I just want to point out a little bit of a note here. Octa being hidden, in my view, is not at all a bad thing. It's just interesting. It's kind of cool to see for once, as Roblox, the platform itself, is known for a lot of live service and currently active developed games. So actually seeing a game having less traction, in my mind, having less traction in my mind if I were to develop a game would stress me out a bit, because you wouldn't have so many of those features like monitoring how many players, how active it is, if it's doing good. But definitely from your point of view, it's more of you have it closed off to kind of keep yourself concentrated, which is pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's more like, because when you have like a small player base, I guess, you kind of you have certain people that want to like find bugs, and you talk with them and you're like, okay, those type of people, they want to be playing 24/7, they want to be constantly playing. When you establish that sort of like core player base, you can actually like hop in a call with a bunch of people, or like a small group of like 5 people, and play for a long time. And I think it's way easier to find people like testers and like mods and stuff like that way, than if I have like a surge of people and just a bunch of random people that I'm just not very that close with, or I just don't know. And yeah, I think it's more like, for me, it's easy to build community that way.
Okay, I'll be honest, we're derailing once again, but this question is out of my own curiosity.
Sorry.
No, I'm derailing with these questions. We're going topic to topic.
Oh, okay.
This question is out of my own curiosity, since you are the first developer that I get to chat to. Previously, the very first interview was a fellow YouTuber. So in terms of games, did video content or Twitter posts help you with any traction towards your project in any way? As a content creator, we don't have developer tools to see if we're actually impacting others. So we do hope that we can help, but visually it's quite difficult to see anything.
So I think when the video first dropped, I woke up to like 5 pings in different servers like, yo, you finally made it, bro. I was just beaming the entire day, and the amount of people that were like requesting to join the group, I had to like remove the requesting because there was so many people at one time. And it was so nice to just see so many different people. Like, this game is so cool. Really like the art style and stuff like that. It was just like a nice surge of positivity. And I was like, yeah, my work is finally being recognized. I like this a lot. And yeah, the Twitter post as well, that really helped. It was like another boost of people that just turned up for a couple times. I don't expect them to like return every single time, but just to see them return at least once and seek the game, and like maybe they'll tell a friend about it and they'll tell a friend about it. That's nice, you know. And I feel like the videos, they help so much. And when I saw the view count, I was like, wow, this video got like, what? How many? I need to check how many views it was. It was like a lot. It was over like 2K or something. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I was like, I can't believe this big YouTuber's like really interested in my game and he really messes with it. And then, yeah, it's just really nice to have people like recognize your game through a video. Yeah, the videos do help, and the Twitter posts do help a lot.
The large number I remembered was 10,000 views. It's kind of sitting at 11,000 right now.
Incredible, man.
I'll be honest, my Twitter page sucks, but I know Roblox Underrated Games promoted it as well, I believe.
Yeah. So I was just like, I've just been really happy ever since those videos on Twitter posts dropped. I've just been radiating happiness.
Well, that's good to hear, because genuinely, I usually with my content, I'll be checking out games, and if it's a live stream, a dev might pop up, and it's always surprising, but I never get to see that other side of like, did it actually help? Because Roblox is such a huge platform, you know, and so people can just spread games to friends. Hey, check this game out. So you don't really know where the traction comes from. Now, on the topic of memories, at least it looks that way. I understand that Octa is still a work in progress and it might be too early, but do you have any major points or memories when getting to this point in its development?
Any memories? I think this was like way back when, it was like 3 years ago. Because there's actually 3 versions of the game. There's 4. There's 4 versions of the game, but each one's a recode of the other. And this was when the game was called Octa testing, and we had like 20 people in one server, and it was just so fun to see like a bunch of different people and my friends just enjoying the game at one point. And that was like the point, was like, yeah, I want to focus on making this game like the best it can be. I think when we get like a massive server, a bunch of different people, and they're all like, this is really cool, I like this a lot, I mess with this a lot, it's just like, yeah, it's very inspiring. I think, yeah, that's it.
Since you mentioned 4 different iterations of Octa, I would imagine you've had some challenges along the way. What were some of them that were quite difficult for you?
Yeah, so I think initially, one of the reasons why we moved from Octa Basement to Octa Hideout was because every class was coded in a way where making changes was just so frustrating. You'd have to like change a bunch of different things just to make one thing work. And if you removed one thing, you'd break like several classes. So I was able to just start somewhat from the beginning and recode every class from the ground back up. And now it's a lot different. So like now I can modify time, I can modify how big the attacks are, I can modify player scale. And it's just so much more dynamic in the way I can mess with different types of attacks and abilities. And I can tie attacks to animation stuff. It's just so much better to play, in my opinion.
On the topic of playing the game, when I was playing it recently, I noticed a detail, and I was just curious, when is Goku being added?
Goku is probably going to be a dev spec, but maybe during April Fools, I'll maybe like drop him.
Is he actually going to?
Yeah, like, I mean, there's like a couple like troll characters, I guess you can call them, in the game. Like I kind of just like one day I wake up and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna code this, and I code like 3 moves and then I just call it a day and I just leave it alone. I just don't tell anyone about it. And then during testings, when someone like annoys me or something, I just roll up with a dev spec and one shot them and call it a day. And then we'll find it funny, but yeah. But maybe like during April Fools, I would drop Goku, and then people were like, wow, Goku's dropped. And it'll be like a full class with full VFX and stuff.
That'd actually be pretty cool to see. You mentioned it earlier, a few of your inspirations, but were there any others besides some of the games you played?
Inspirations. Splatoon has definitely inspired me in a couple ways. I think mostly just this art direction and the way they kind of like lean into it. I guess by extension, fighting. That game's inspired me a lot. It just inspired me to like be better with my UI and be better with like overall presentation. Because before I didn't really I cared about presentation, but I didn't really care about UI as much. But now I'm trying to like, learn UI properly, get better at doing like different types of effects. Because that game's UI is just, it blows you away, man. I think that's mostly it for inspirations would be.
Something that I noticed that was quite different from Octa and other games were the items that you have inside of it. Were items a main idea to the game, or were they added as a fun extra later down the road?
So honestly, they were like a fun extra down the road, and then people were like, yeah, I kind of like this idea because it's fun. When a class is zoning you out and you can't do anything about that, here's the random 30 damage bomb that you can chuck at their head. That's funny. And people like that idea, and I've been working on developing new items for the game. So in the coming updates, we've got a lot more wacky items. We're trying to move away from the bombs because that was like a common feedback I've gotten, that there was too many bombs and not enough like different types of diverse items. So I'm moving away from that, and I'm trying to add more interesting items that you can mess around with. So recently, I've added a jet-powered bat, which functions like the the home run bat in Smash Bros.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's basically that. You charge it up for a couple seconds, and then you whack them with the bat, and it launches them into orbit. There's a bunch of damage, and it's fun. And then we've got a hydraulic boxing glove launcher. Just a bunch of wacky ideas, and yeah.
When looking at other games in the same genre, like Critical Strike for example, what did you add on to your games that others might have not have?
I think what sets Octa a bit apart from like the different, I guess, arena fighters is that every class sort of has like a recovery move, and that's been changed to be when you were over void, you'd have the option to press spacebar and get like a Smash Bros style recovery. Now you can just use it everywhere, and it gives every class so much more mobility. So you can do so much more mix-ups and stuff like that. You've got what else you've got? In the center of maps now, I've added the things called gears, and these are like powerful items you can acquire if you break the shield. And every class now has a hyper move, I guess. It's like a Final Smash, basically, where you enter hypercharge state and you get like a super powered attack, and you can. It's really cool, in my opinion. I had like a lot of fun coding them, and just seeing them in like motion is really fun. And I think the items are a massive thing that set Octa apart from different styles of arena fighters, especially like Critical Strike and like PSA and stuff like that. And then another thing is you can actually like aim upwards with your abilities. If you're playing like a ranged class, maybe like Gunslinger or Bomber, you can throw your abilities upwards with the use of Z-aim. If you press Z, then you can aim your abilities upwards and downwards and whenever you want. And it adds like a whole different like layer to the gameplay, I guess, because if someone's above you, normally you wouldn't be able to get to them because you'd have to like get to the elevation they're at. You can just aim up and knock them off, which I find cool.
I do have to admit, the combat in Octa is very impressive and very cool to see. As you mentioned a minute ago, the movement with recoveries and whatnot, it's really cool to look at the clips and gameplay if you're in a server and the match is going on.
Yeah.
But oh man, I would imagine there's a slight learning curve there.
Oh yeah, I need to work. I think one thing I definitely need to add, like if I plan on doing like a full release soon, is a tutorial. Because I think the onboarding for the game is kind of it's really bad. I'll be like self-critical of myself. Like the onboarding is terrible. You get thrown into a game with a bunch of people that know what they're doing, and you just get battered and bruised, and the game doesn't tell you anything. And then you like minding your own business, like why are bombs falling from the sky? Why is the moon falling from the sky? And it's like a bunch of random things that happen at one time. And the new players, I can already tell they'll just be frazzled and they'll just leave the game because, why would I play this? What's going on half the time?
The topic of bombs and rockets just appearing, Octa has some really cool mechanics, from map hazards, full-on events such as floods occurring. What event or map do you personally enjoy the most?
I I think my favorite map in game, it's gotta be Liquid Labs, mostly because it kind of changes how maps play. Normally just in a little battlefield and you fight, and then it goes to tension and the map becomes smaller, and then there's one person left alive at the end. With Liquid Labs, after a couple seconds, the corner of the maps, the goal is to get to the top of the map as fast as possible and not get swallowed by the void. Because if you get caught lacking and you're not paying attention to what's going on, because the entire map becomes red, and you need to get to the corners of the map and get up as soon as possible, or you'll get left behind and you have an uphill battle where you're trying to now push for a choke, and there's 5 people doing the same thing as you, and they're all trying to not die at the same time, and it's just so chaotic. And I know a lot of people don't like the map, but me personally, I love the map. Okay, it's so chaotic, it's so nice. It's perfectly what Octa's about. It's about chaotic fun.
On that note, is Octa going to be leaning into future maps being more chaotic, or will we have some maps that are a little bit more grounded for actual fighting?
So most maps will probably be more just grounded for more fighting, but I do want to have more interesting maps or more interesting gimmicks where how Liquid Labs, the Void Rises. I want to have more interesting gimmicks like that where the players are always on their toes, sort of, because I don't want them to just be fighting and fighting. That's boring. I want something interesting to happen. I think that's why the game has Gono events, like the random map events that happen. That's why the bombs fall from the sky sometimes, or where the moon falls from the sky. Random silly stuff like that is what I find funny. And I think when I'm in a VC with friends and I hear the reactions where 5 lasers just start pointing at them and they're like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? And then they just randomly explode. It just makes me laugh. But I think, yeah, to answer the question, I do want to have more interesting map hazards, but I also understand that you need more grounded fights, because having every map just be crazy, chaotic, it gets to a point, if you know what I mean. It's you need a balance.
Still on the topic of hazards, sometimes missiles will appear, you mentioned this, and they will target players. Could you explain how the random events of that nature kind of work in Octa? Can you influence them, similar to that of Super Bomb Survival, or are they purely random?
So the entire system is basically inspired by Super Bomb Survival, the intensity system. There's a 1 in, I can't remember what the rates are, but there's basically, let's say for context sake, there's a 1 in 3 chance for an event to spawn, and you can get up to 3 events. They're predetermined, it's not random. But for each map has their own set of events. So let's say for Liquid Labs, you have the missiles that target players. Those, I'll be real, they're kind of dicey. I need to be reworking them soon, but how they work right now is that there's a red missile that targets the lowest HP target, and there's a blue missile at higher intensities that targets the highest HP target. So you'll have these scenarios where 2 people are just running around and there's just these big missiles of doom chasing them and they're screaming. And then you can throw people into the missile as a diversion. So if you have a move of knockback, maybe you can sling someone into the missile and get bonus damage off that, and you can create a really cool clip of that. And there's another event where it's basically hot potato. A potato will spawn on the highest HP target, dealing damage to someone within melee range will transfer the potato, and it's literally just hot potato. There's another event where bombs start falling from the sky, different types of bombs. It's kind of like Super Bomb Survival, basically. That event is basically a reference to Super Bomb Survival, where a bunch of random bombs start falling from the sky, and it makes the terrain around the map way more chaotic. There's an event where the moon falls from the sky. That's a reference to Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The moon falls from the sky and then it just explodes after a while. And there's the final event where a bunch of helicopters will spawn around the map and they'll start pointing at people with lasers. And then after a couple seconds, the laser will stop tracking them and they'll fire. If you're caught in the lasers, I guess, hitbox, you get you eat a ton of damage, and if you get caught between multiple of them, you're just basically dead. Yeah, I think that's all the events in game right now so far. I've got a few planned, but I cannot speak about that right now.
Was the helicopter one recently added? I've never seen that, but it sounds really cool.
The helicopter one spawns on Octopia. It's like on a specific few maps. There's like 2 maps it spawns on. There's Canyon 7 and Octopia. That way they spawn on. The green one and the orange one. Orange looking one.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Is Octa going to get more content before the full release, or is the game actually very close to the full release in its current state?
I think I'm nearing closer to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm happy with the game so far. So I am releasing an update in 5 days now. I think, yeah, it should be 5 days now. On the, let's check what day it's on May 31st at 10 o'clock British summertime. We're releasing around 3 new classes. It depends on how, if you've been playing recently, it would be 2 new classes. If you haven't played in a while, then it will be the roster's definitely been bulked up a lot. We're adding Rogue, which is an assassin, which uses a knife. We're adding Chef. He uses a frying pan. It's a somewhat complex class, but it's very fun to play. And Knight, who has a sword and a shield, and he's more like a parry-based class, which like focuses on you making a mistake, and then he capitalizes off that with the parry and steamrolls off that. And yeah.
Just as a side note, by the time this video releases, the update is most likely going to be out. I don't think I'm going to be able to rush it in 5 days.
So we could just say then the update's probably going to be out. There's an update recently released, then that works.
It works. As a developer, do you have any advice to someone who might be new to game development?
I think it will definitely be frustrating working on something and then not understanding why it won't work. And then you'll probably just be really frustrated and just be like in a funk, like, why won't this work? Why can't I make this work? And then my advice is just sleep on it and come back here with a fresh mind, because I'll be tackling a bug and for days and days I'll be like, why won't this work? And then I'll just step back for a bit, and then I'll be doing like the most random thing, maybe like washing dishes or something. I'll be like, oh yeah, so that's how you do it. And then I'll come back and it's all fixed. I think take your time, don't rush yourself. Remember, I think I don't like this phrase, but like a delayed game is what's that one phrase that Miyamoto said? A rushed game is forever bad, and a delayed game is something like that. You get people know the quote. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Take your time when you're developing a game. It's not a rush. You're not in like an imaginary race with someone. You know, it's you and maybe your team of friends. Don't treat development as a job, because it's not. It should be like a side thing you do. It shouldn't be like your last resort, you know, because if you start treating it like that, you'll get burnt out very, very quickly. And yeah, I think that's the advice I'd give to my past self, because I used to treat this like I used to just dedicate my entire time to my game, and I didn't really leave any time for anything else. And then that was fine for a bit, and then after like maybe a year, I just burned out heavily. I was in like a funk for a while. So I say, don't treat it like a job and try and have fun. Yeah.
Very cool. We're at the end. Anything here that you would like to mention?
Honestly, thank you for thank you for having me. I've been super nervous. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. This is like one of like few times where like someone's seen my work and is like, yeah, I really like this and I'd like to know more about this. And it's just, yeah, I still can't find the words. I'm just really grateful. So thank you.
All right, all the links are going to be down in the description, and I believe that is everything.
Awesome. Oh yeah, like and subscribe. Forgot that.
I'll add that later. That's during editing.
Oh, okay, cool.